The rain started just as my shift ended, because of course it did. I pulled my thin jacket tighter and hurried down the sidewalk, already calculating if I had enough for bus fare or if I'd need to walk the 2 miles home. Fin. That's when I heard it, a small, broken sound cutting through the rain. Crying. I stopped, scanning the darkening street. There, huddled against the wall of a closed boutique, was a child. He couldn't have been more than 5, soaked through, his little body shaking with sobs that made my heart clench. "Hey," I called softly, crouching down a few feet away. "Are you okay?" Stupid question. He was obviously not okay. The boy looked up with tear-swollen eyes, and something in my chest twisted. He had this haunted look that no child should ever wear. Without thinking, I moved closer and shrugged off my jacket, draping it over his small shoulders. "Where's your family?" I asked gently. He just cried harder, and I felt panic rising. Should I call the police? But I'd heard stories, immigrant kids separated from parents, bureaucratic nightmares. What if I made things worse? "It's all right," I murmured, pulling him into my arms. He clutched my wet shirt like I was the only solid thing in his world. "We'll find them together, okay? You're safe now." The boy's sobs gradually quieted against my shoulder. I rocked him gently, ignoring the rain, ignoring everything except this child who needed someone, anyone, to care. "Jihoon." The voice cracked like a whip through the air. I looked up to see 3 black SUVs screeching to a halt at the curb. Men in suits poured out, but my attention locked on the man striding toward us. He was tall, built like he could snap me in half without trying. His charcoal suit probably cost more than 6 months of my rent. But it was his face that made my breath catch, sharp features, cold eyes that could freeze fire, and an expression of barely controlled fury. "Step away from my son." The command in his voice made me want to obey instinctively, but the child, Jihoon, only burrowed deeper against me, his small fists twisting in my shirt. "He's frightened," I said, finding my voice. "Maybe if you—" "I don't recall asking for your opinion." He moved closer, and I caught his scent, cedarwood and something darker, more dangerous. My Omega instincts screamed at me to submit to this alpha, but I held my ground. "I'm not trying to tell you what to do," I said evenly, even as my heart hammered. "But he's scared. Look at him." For the first time, the man's expression flickered. He glanced at his son, and something like pain crossed his features before the ice returned. "Jihoon," he said, softer now. "Come here." The boy shook his head against my shoulder. The alpha's jaw tightened. "Now. Please don't force him," I heard myself say. "Just give him a minute." The man's eyes snapped to mine, and I saw genuine surprise there. "You're telling me how to handle my own child? I'm telling you he needs comfort, not commands." The bodyguards shifted nervously. Nobody apparently spoke to this man like this. But I was too worried about Jihoon to care about whatever consequences I was inviting. The alpha stared at me for a long, tense moment. Then, unexpectedly, he crouched down to our level. This close, I could see the exhaustion beneath his perfect exterior, the worry he wore like armor. "Jihoon," he said quietly. "I was worried. Why did you run?" The boy's voice was tiny, muffled. "You yelled at Teacher Min. You made her cry." The alpha's expression tightened. "That's not, we'll discuss this at home." "You're always mean to everyone," Jihoon whispered. "Like you were mean to mommy." The words landed like a physical blow. The alpha went completely still, and I saw something crack in those cold eyes, grief, raw and barely contained. "Your mother." He stopped, seeming to struggle for words. "That's not what happened." I felt like I was intruding on something intensely private. Slowly, I loosened my hold on Jihoon. "Your daddy was really scared when he couldn't find you," I said softly. "Sometimes people sound angry when they're actually just worried." Jihoon peeked up at his father with uncertain eyes. The alpha, I still didn't know his name, extended his hand. "Let's go home. Please." That "please" seemed to cost him something. Jihoon hesitated, then slowly reached for his father's hand. As he did, his other hand grabbed mine. "Come with us?" he asked me. "Oh, I can't." "Please." Those big eyes were killing me. Just until we get home? I looked at the Alpha, expecting refusal. Instead, he studied me with an intensity that made my skin prickle. His nostrils flared slightly. Was he scenting me? The car, he said abruptly, standing. You'll catch pneumonia in this rain. Before I could protest, Jihun was tugging me toward the SUV. I found myself in the back seat, Jihun between me and his father, still holding both our hands. The car smelled like expensive leather and that cedar scent I was beginning to associate with the Alpha. He was texting rapidly on his phone, but I noticed how his thumb unconsciously stroked Jihun's knuckles. I'm Kim Minjae, I offered into the silence. I work at the Sunshine Cafe on 4th Street. I know, he said without looking up. That sent a chill down my spine. How? Now he did look at me, and I saw something predatory in his expression. Kang Minho, CEO of Kang Industries. And I make it my business to know about anyone who touches my son. It wasn't a threat. It was a promise. The car stopped in front of a building I recognized, one of those luxury apartment towers I'd only seen in magazines. Jihun was asleep now, exhausted from crying. I'll carry him, Minho said, gathering his son with surprising gentleness. He looked at me. Wait here. I should have left. Should have slipped away the moment they went inside. But something kept me frozen in that car, heart pounding, knowing somehow that my life had just changed completely. When Minho returned, his expression was unreadable. He handed me a business card. Come to this address Monday morning, 8 a.m. sharp. Why? His eyes locked with mine. Because my son hasn't smiled like that in 3 years. And I'm not done with you yet. Then he was gone, leaving me holding a card that felt like a loaded gun. I didn't go on Monday. I threw the card away, told myself it was insane to get involved with someone like Kang Minho. Men like him didn't make innocent offers. They collected people like chess pieces. But Tuesday morning he was sitting in my cafe. My hands trembled as I approached his table. He looked different in the morning light, less severe, though no less intimidating. He was reading something on his tablet, and didn't look up when I stopped beside him. Americano, he said. Black. Of course he took it black. Probably ate nails for breakfast too. I brought his coffee, trying to ignore how my manager was practically vibrating with anxiety at having someone so wealthy in our shabby little cafe. When I set the cup down, Minho's hand shot out, catching my wrist. Not hard, but firm enough to stop me. You didn't come, he said quietly. I have a job. I'm offering you a better one. His thumb pressed against my pulse point, and I knew he could feel how fast my heart was racing. 50,000 a month. Room and board included. All you have to do is take care of Jihun. I nearly dropped my tray. That's insane. That's what you're worth to my son. He released me, pulling out another card. This is my personal number. You have until Friday to decide. He left cash on the table, enough to cover his coffee 3 times over, and walked out. I lasted until Thursday. My landlord had raised the rent again. My Omega suppressants were running low and I couldn't afford a refill. When I counted my money that night, sitting on my mattress on the floor, I realized I had 2 choices. Accept Minho's offer or skip meals for the next 2 weeks. Pride was a luxury I couldn't afford. I called the number. He answered on the first ring, like he'd been waiting. I'll do it, I said. But I have conditions. The pause. Then, I'm listening. I keep my own room. I'm not. I'm there for Jihun, nothing else. Agreed. His voice was unreadable. A car will pick you up Saturday morning. 6 a.m. Bring everything you own. The line went dead. Everything I owned fit in 2 duffel bags. That should have been depressing, but as the black town car pulled up to the Kang estate, I felt something else entirely. The mansion, because that's what it was, sprawled across perfectly manicured grounds. It looked like something from a drama, all modern glass and stone, screaming wealth and power. Jihun ran out before I even reached the door, crashing into my legs with enough force to nearly knock me over. Minjae, you came. You came. I dropped my bags and hugged him back, his joy infectious. Over his head, I saw Minho standing in the doorway, watching us with that unreadable expression. Your room is on the 3rd floor, he said. West wing. Jihoon's is next door. A housekeeper appeared, Mrs. Park, older and kind-faced, and showed me up. My room was bigger than my entire apartment had been. The bed alone could fit 4 people. The attached bathroom had a soaking tub that made me want to cry with gratitude. Mr. Kang had it prepared specially, Mrs. Park said softly. He wanted you to be comfortable. That night, after settling in and having dinner with Jihoon, Minho didn't join us. I tucked the boy into bed. He grabbed my hand as I turned to leave. Will you stay? Just until I fall asleep? How could I refuse those eyes? I sat on the edge of his bed, and he started talking. About his mother, who died in a car accident when he was 3. About his father, who worked all the time and barely smiled anymore. About how lonely he was in this big house. Everyone's scared of Daddy, Jihoon whispered. But you weren't. Why? Sometimes, I said carefully, people who seem scary are just protecting something they love. Do you think Daddy loves me? My heart broke. I know he does. Perceptive, a deep voice said from the doorway. I jumped. Minho stood there in casual clothes, the first time I'd seen him in anything but a suit. He looked younger. Almost human. He's asleep, I said quietly, standing. Jihoon had indeed drifted off, still holding my hand. Minho moved closer, gently extracting his son's grip and pulling the blanket higher. For a moment, his guard was completely down, and I saw the love there, fierce and desperate and painful. My office, he said, straightening. Now. I followed him downstairs, trying not to notice how good he smelled, how my Omega instincts were screaming at me to move closer. This was just a job. Just a job. His office was all dark wood and leather. He poured himself a whiskey and offered me one. I shook my head. Rules, he said, leaning against his desk. Jihoon's schedule is strict. Breakfast at 7, tutoring at 9, free time in the afternoon. You'll accompany him everywhere. There will be social events, galas, dinners. You'll attend those too. As what? The hired help. His eyes flashed. As part of my household. Something in how he said it made my skin prickle. What aren't you telling me? Minho took a long drink. There are people who would hurt Jihoon to get to me. Competitors. Enemies. You being here makes you a target too. You should have told me that before. Would you have come? I opened my mouth to say no. But we both knew I would have. For Jihoon. Minho moved closer, and suddenly the room felt too small. He was invading my space, his scent overwhelming, making my head spin. There's something else, he said softly. Do you feel it? I did. God help me, I did. That pull, that magnetic force that made me want to lean into him even as my brain screamed danger. The bond, I whispered. Fated mates. His hand came up, stopping just short of touching my face. I knew the moment I scented you in the rain. Horror flooded through me. No, that's not. I'm just here for Jihoon. Are you? His eyes held mine, burning with something dark and hungry. Then why is your scent getting sweeter? Why are you trembling? I stepped back, hitting the wall. This was a mistake. Too late. But he moved away, giving me space. The bond doesn't care about timing or convenience. It just is. I won't. I'm not asking you to. His voice was cold again, that mask back in place. I don't do relationships. My wife was my fated mate too, and loving her nearly destroyed me when she died. So you're safe from me, Kim Minjae. This is just biology. The way he said it felt like a slap. Just biology. Just a job. Nothing more. Good, I managed. Then we understand each other. I fled to my room and locked the door, heart pounding. Through the wall, I could hear Jihoon's soft breathing. I'd taken this job to survive. But as I lay in that too-big bed, drowning in Minho's scent that somehow permeated everything, I realized I might have made a deal with the devil himself. And the worst part? Some traitorous part of me wanted to see what would happen if I stopped running. My heat was due in 3 weeks. I had until then to figure out how to survive this without losing myself completely. The universe, as always, had other plans. The photograph appeared on my phone 2 weeks later. It was me and Jihoon at the park, laughing as we fed ducks. Innocent. Except the message attached made my blood run cold. Pretty Omega. Shame if something happened to him. My hands shook so badly I nearly dropped the phone. I was still staring at it when Minho's office door slammed open. Show me. I didn't ask how he knew. I just handed him the phone. His face went absolutely still, that deadly calm that was somehow more terrifying than rage. He made a call, speaking in rapid, clipped sentences. Within minutes, the house was swarming with additional security. Pack a bag, Minho said. You and Jihoon are moving to the safe house. What? No. This isn't a negotiation. His eyes blazed. Lee Sang-woo is trying to leverage a merger. He thinks threatening you will make me compliant. Then send me away. I'll leave. He's already seen you with Jihoon. Already knows you matter. Minho stepped closer, his scent sharp with anger and something else. Leaving now makes you more vulnerable, not less. That night, we moved to a penthouse across the city. Sleek, modern, with bulletproof windows and guards on every floor. Jihoon thought it was an adventure. I felt like a prisoner. Days blurred together. Minho barely left the penthouse, working from home, his tension filling every room. I'd catch him watching me with an intensity that made my skin burn. The bond was getting stronger, pulling tighter, especially as my heat approached. I was hiding it, taking double suppressants, wearing scent blockers. But I could feel it coming like a storm on the horizon. Then came the gala. We're going out? I stared at Minho like he'd lost his mind. There's someone threatening us and you want to show them they can't control me through fear. His jaw was set. And I need you there. Why? Because Lee Sang-woo will be there. And he needs to see that you're under my protection. He paused. Wear the black suit in your closet. The suit fit perfectly, obviously tailored for me. As I dressed, I noticed my hands trembling. The suppressants weren't working as well anymore. I could feel my body heating up, instincts sharpening. Not yet. Please, not yet. The gala was in a hotel ballroom that dripped with wealth. Crystal chandeliers, designer dresses, alphas and omegas playing their social games. Minho kept his hand on my lower back, possessive and claiming, as we moved through the crowd. Jihoon was at home with Mrs. Park and a security team. This was adult business. There, Minho murmured near my ear, sending shivers down my spine. The man in gray. Lee Sang was handsome in a cruel way, sharp eyes, cold smile. When he saw us, that smile widened. Kang Minho, he said smoothly. And this must be your new companion. The way he said companion made it sound dirty. Kim Minjae, Minho said. My son's caretaker. How domestic. Sang-woo's eyes traveled over me in a way that made my skin crawl. You always did have exquisite taste. Your message was received, Minho said coldly. And rejected. Was it? Sang-woo leaned closer. Because I think you're more vulnerable than you've been in years. That Omega scent, he inhaled deliberately, so sweet. Makes one wonder what he'd smell like in heat. Minho's hand tightened on my back. Careful. Or what? You'll protect him? Sang laughed. You couldn't even protect your wife. Minho moved so fast I barely saw it. One moment he was beside me, the next his hand was around Sang-woo's throat, slamming him against the wall. The entire ballroom went silent. Say her name again, Minho growled, and I'll kill you right here. Security rushed forward. I grabbed Minho's arm, feeling how rigid he was, barely controlling himself. He's not worth it, I said urgently. Please. Let him go. For a terrible moment, I thought he wouldn't. Then his hand opened and Sang-woo dropped, gasping. This isn't over, Sang-woo wheezed. We left immediately, Minho silent and furious in the car. I could feel waves of rage and pheromones rolling off him, making my head swim. My heat symptoms were getting worse. I was too warm, too sensitive, too aware of his presence. Back at the penthouse, Minho went straight to the bar. I should have gone to my room. Should have locked the door. Instead, I followed him. What he said about your wife. Don't. Minho downed his whiskey in one gulp. You don't get to ask about her. But because I'm just the help? Just biology? The words came out sharper than intended, influenced by my approaching heat making me emotional and reckless. He turned on me, eyes blazing. Because talking about her means admitting that I'm terrified of losing someone again. Is that what you want to hear? The confession hung between us, raw and bleeding. She died because of me, he continued, voice breaking. Because I made enemies who struck at what I loved most. And now you're here and Jihoon loves you and He stopped, chest heaving. You what? I stepped closer, dizzy with his scent, with the heat building in my core. I can't lose you too. The bond snapped taut between us, undeniable. I reached for him the same moment he reached for me, and then we were kissing, desperate, hungry, inevitable. His hands tangled in my hair, pulling me closer as I gasped against his mouth. My heat broke like a fever. The world narrowed to sensation. His scent flooding my system, his hands on my skin, the overwhelming need to be closer, to be claimed, to be his. Somewhere in the haze, he carried me to his bedroom, laying me down with surprising gentleness. Tell me to stop, he said hoarsely, even as his body pressed against mine. Tell me this isn't what you want. But I couldn't, because despite everything, the danger, the complications, the fear, I wanted this. Wanted him. Don't stop, I whispered. What followed was both tender and consuming. He claimed me thoroughly, bite and bond and promise, until I didn't know where I ended and he began. In the aftermath, curled against his chest, I felt complete in a way I'd never experienced. Mine, he murmured against my hair. My mate. I'll protect you. I swear it. I believed him. I woke hours later, still wrapped in his arms. The room was dark except for the city lights filtering through the windows. Minho was asleep, face peaceful in a way I'd never seen. My phone buzzed on the nightstand. Half asleep, I reached for it. The message made my heart stop. Check his office. Third drawer, left desk. Then ask yourself if you're really his mate, or just a convenient replacement. I stared at the words, dread pooling in my stomach. I wouldn't let Sangwoo manipulate me with mind games. But as I lay there in the darkness, Minho's arm heavy across my waist, I couldn't stop wondering. What was in that drawer? I waited until dawn, until Minho's breathing was deep and even. Then I slipped from his bed, my body still aching from the claiming, and made my way to his office. The third drawer on the left opened silently. Inside was a folder. My hands trembled as I pulled it out, and my heart shattered as I opened it. Photographs. Dozens of them. Me at the cafe. Me walking home. Me at the grocery store. All dated weeks before I'd ever met Jihoon in the rain. Underneath, a document, background check Kim Minjae. Everything about me, my finances, my family, my medical records including my Omega status and heat cycles. The last page was a memo from Minho to his head of security, suitable candidate. Arrange encounter. Ensure natural appearance. The rain. Jihoon crying. I couldn't breathe. The folder slipped from my numb fingers, scattering across the floor. This whole time I'd thought, I believed. Minjae. Minho stood in the doorway, wearing only sleep pants, his hair disheveled. The claiming mark on my neck throbbed, mocking me. Was any of it real? My voice broke. Or was I just, what? A replacement? A convenient Omega to play mother to your son. It's not what you think. You stalked me. You manipulated everything. Tears burned my eyes. That day in the rain, you made it happen. You used Jihoon as bait. No. He moved closer but I backed away. I researched you, yes. I needed someone trustworthy for Jihoon. But that day, Jihoon running away was real. His fear was real. I never planned for him to get lost. But you planned everything else. The job offer, the money, making me dependent on you. My hands fisted. Did you know? About the bond? Is that why you picked me? His silence was answer enough. Oh God. I felt sick. You knew we were fated mates before we even met. That's why you chose me. Not because I was kind to Jihoon, but because you needed What? A replacement for your dead wife. Don't. His voice turned sharp. Don't talk about things you don't understand. Then explain it to me. I shouted. Explain why you manipulated me into this life, into your bed, into, I touched the mark on my neck, into this bond that I can't undo. Miho's face was carved from stone. My wife died because I failed to protect her. For 3 years, I watched my son fade away, becoming a ghost. Then I discovered you, a kind Omega struggling to survive, with no family, no attachments, and yes, the bond's signature that matched mine. He stepped closer. I researched you because I needed to know if you were safe, if you were real. And everything I learned told me you were exactly what Jihun needed. What about what I needed? My voice cracked. Did you ever think about that? I had a life, Miho. It wasn't much, but it was mine. You took my choices away. I gave you a choice. I offered you the job. You could have said no. With what money? With what options? I laughed bitterly. You knew I was desperate. You counted on it. The fight drained out of him. You're right, he said quietly. I'm a manipulative bastard who orchestrated everything. But his voice roughened. What happened between us last night? That was real. The bond is real. What I feel for you. How can I believe anything you say? Before he could answer, alarms blared throughout the penthouse. Miho's phone erupted with calls. He answered, his face going pale. What? I demanded. Sangwoo. He's taken Jihun. The world tilted. What? He got past the security at the main house. Mrs. Park is in the hospital. Miho was already moving, pulling on clothes, making calls. He wants the merger contracts signed within the hour or... He didn't finish. He didn't have to. All my anger evaporated, replaced by cold terror. Where? The old warehouse district. I'm going. We're going, I corrected, already grabbing clothes. That's my kid too. Something flickered in Miho's eyes. Gratitude, surprise, love, but there was no time. We raced to his car, security team following. During the drive, Miho kept glancing at me. After this, he said finally, if you want to leave, I won't stop you. I'll set you up somewhere safe, give you enough money to start over. The bond? We can learn to live with it from a distance. My throat tightened. You'd let me go? I'd hate every second of it. I'd feel like I was dying. His hands gripped the steering wheel. But you deserve the choice I took from you. The warehouse loomed ahead, surrounded by Sangwoo's men. Miho's phone rang. Sangwoo's voice on speaker, smug and cruel. Sign the contracts, come. Unless you want your son to become an orphan today. Let me talk to him, Miho demanded. A shuffle, then Jihun's terrified voice. Daddy? I'm coming, son. Be brave. Touching, Sangwoo mocked. You have 10 minutes. Miho ended the call, his jaw set. I'm signing. Nothing matters more than Jihun. Wait. An idea formed, reckless and desperate. What if we had leverage too? I explained quickly. Miho's eyes widened. That's insane. You have a better idea? He didn't. 5 minutes later, I walked into that warehouse alone, hands raised. Sangwoo smiled when he saw me, Jihun held by one of his men. The Omega. How noble. Did Miho send you to beg? He sent me to trade, I said. Me for Jihun. You want to hurt Miho? I'm his fated mate. His weakness. Take me instead. Sangwoo's eyes gleamed. Tempting. But I want the contracts too. Then you get nothing. I smiled coldly. Because if you hurt that child, Miho will sign nothing. He'll spend every resource he has destroying you, consequences be damned. But if you let Jihun go and take me, you get leverage and the contracts eventually. A mate held hostage is worth more than a dead child. I could see him calculating. Besides, I added, killing a kid? That makes you a monster. Taking an Omega in a business dispute? That's just ruthless. Which reputation do you prefer? Sangwoo studied me for a long moment. Then he nodded to his man. Release the boy. Jihun ran to me, sobbing. I hugged him tight, whispering, run to the door. Your daddy's waiting. But, go. Now. He ran. The moment he cleared the entrance, chaos erupted. Miho's security team flooded in. They'd been positioned the whole time, waiting for Jihoon to be clear. In the confusion, Minho appeared at my side, pulling me behind him as his men subdued Sangwa's crew. It was over in minutes. Later, at the hospital where Mrs. Park was recovering, Jihoon refused to leave my lap. Minho sat beside us, his hand covering mine. You could have been killed, he said quietly. So could you. So could Jihoon. I looked at him. That's what family does. We protect each other. Family, he repeated, something breaking in his expression. Is that what we are? I don't know, I admitted. You manipulated me, lied to me, took away my choices. That's not something I can just forgive. His face fell. But, I continued, you also gave me a home, a child to love. And whether you orchestrated our meeting or not, what I feel for you is real. I touched our bond mark. This is real. So here's my choice, Minho, the choice you owe me. We start over. No more secrets, no more manipulation. We build something honest, or we don't build anything at all. Honest, he whispered. I can do that. His hand tightened on mine. I love you. Not because of the bond, not because you're convenient, but because you're brave and kind and you make my son laugh. You make me want to be better. That's the truth. Jihoon looked up at us with hopeful eyes. Does this mean Minjae stays forever? Minho looked at me, vulnerable in a way I'd never seen. Does it? I thought about everything. The lies, the danger, the manipulation. But I also thought about Jihoon's laughter, about finding purpose, about how Minho looked at me like I was his entire world. Forever, I agreed. But you're going to spend the rest of your life making this up to me. His smile was real and unguarded. I have some ideas about that. 6 months later, at our proper mating ceremony with Jihoon as ring bearer, I realized something. Sometimes the path to family isn't clean or simple. Sometimes it's messy and complicated and starts with manipulation. But what mattered was where we chose to go from there. And I chose this. Chose them. Chose us. Finally, truly, it was my choice. And I'd make it again every single day.